Everyone thought he was just a broken man in a broken chair. Dirty. Useless. A beggar who had nothing to offer. But to her, he was something else. She gave without asking. She fed him with what little she had. And then one day, everything changed. This is the story of a woman named Miriam, and a man the world had forgotten. Miriam was 24 years old and lived in a noisy corner of Port Lagos. Her life was hard, but her spirit was soft. Every morning, she set up her little food stall under a broad mango tree where workers, drivers, and school children passed by. The stall wasn't much, just old planks nailed together, with rusted metal sheets overhead, but it was hers. Her slippers were worn thin. Her skirt had patches. Her shirt had holes under the arms. But she smiled like she owned the sun. "Welcome, my brother," she'd greet customers cheerfully, even after cooking since dawn. Her days started before the birds sang. She washed, peeled, chopped, boiled, and stirred in a hurry, but her heart remained heavy. She had no parents. No siblings. No husband. No child. Just a one-room shelter behind a mechanic's shop. No light. No running water. Only a bucket, a mattress, and her dreams. That day, as she scrubbed her bench clean, her neighbor Fola stopped to chat. "Miriam, why are you always grinning like you're not suffering like the rest of us?" she asked, half laughing. Miriam looked up and smiled again. "Because frowning won't fill my pot." Fola chuckled and walked off, but her words hung in the air. Miriam had nothing, but somehow, she always gave something. She didn't know it, but life was watching her. And soon, everything would shift. Each afternoon, a strange thing happened. A crippled man rolled in from the dusty roadside, slowly dragging his old wheelchair with both hands. The wheels squeaked against the stones. People crossed the road to avoid him. Some covered their noses. Others mocked. "There he is again. That ghost on wheels," one boy whispered. His legs were wrapped in brown bandages. His shirt was torn at the shoulder. His face was dark with dust. His eyes were sunken. Some said he was mad. Some said he stank. But Miriam never looked away. She called him Baba Z. That afternoon, as the sun burned bright, Baba Z arrived once more. He halted near her shop and exhaled, his arms trembling. "You didn't come yesterday," Miriam said gently. He didn't look at her at first. His voice was dry. "I couldn't move. I was too weak. No food in 2 days." She glanced at her table. Only one plate of yam and beans was left. It was meant for her. She paused. Just one heartbeat. Then she picked it up, carried it over, and placed it before him. "Eat," she said. He looked at the food. Then at her. "You're giving me your last plate again?" Miriam nodded. "I'll cook more when I get home." He picked up the spoon with shaking fingers. His eyes shimmered, but no tears fell. He simply bowed his head and ate slowly. People stared. Some whispered. One woman even asked, "Why do you always feed that man?" Miriam smiled. "If I was the one in that chair, wouldn't I want someone to care for me too?" Baba Z came every day after that. But he never begged. He never spoke unless spoken to. He didn't stretch out his hands. He didn't ask for coins. He just sat quietly. Miriam always served him hot rice, soft yam, seasoned beans. Whatever she had. She handed it with warmth, and he received it in silence. One hot afternoon, 2 schoolboys had just finished eating when she saw him again, motionless in his spot. His legs were still bandaged. His shirt had more holes now. She scooped steaming jollof rice into a plate, added 2 small pieces of meat, and walked over. "Your food is ready, Baba Z." He looked up slowly. His face softened. "You never forget me." She knelt beside him and smiled. "Even if the world forgets you, I won't." Just then, a sleek black car pulled up in front of her stall. A man stepped out, tall, well-dressed, clean white shirt, polished shoes. Miriam quickly wiped her hands on her apron. "Good afternoon, sir." The man nodded, but didn't look at her. He was staring at Baba Z. He took a step closer, as though trying to recognize him. Then, without a word, he turned to her. "1 plate of jollof rice. With meat." Miriam served him quickly. He took it, but before leaving, he looked at Baba Z one more time. Baba Z had stopped eating. His spoon was frozen in midair. The man returned to his car and drove away without another word. The next morning, Miriam rose early, just like always. She swept in front of her food stall, rinsed her pots, and lit the firewood. Her fingers moved through habit, but her eyes kept drifting to the road. "Any minute now," she whispered. "He'll come." But no wheelchair appeared. No creaking wheels. No sign of Baba Z. By noon, her smile had faded. She stepped out and looked up and down the street. Where was he? She walked to Ayafola's vegetable stand. "Auntie, have you seen Baba Z today?" Ayafola laughed. "That one? Maybe he rolled off somewhere else. He's got no legs, remember?" Miriam didn't laugh. She went to 2 boys selling water in sachets. "Did you see the old man in the wheelchair today?" They shook their heads. She asked the Kiki driver parked by the junction. "Sir, did Baba Z pass this way?" The driver spat to the side. "Maybe he got tired of sitting in one spot. Or maybe he's gone." Miriam's chest tightened. She sat beside her rice pot, staring at the empty corner where Baba Z always waited. Her eyes stayed there, even when customers came. Her smile was gone. Her voice was low. 2 days passed. Still no sign. She couldn't eat properly. Even the rich scent of jollof rice turned her stomach. "Did something bad happen to him?" she whispered one night, sitting in her one-room house, holding the last plate she'd served him with. Her fingers traced the rim as tears welled up. "He never misses a day. Not even in rain." She opened her tiny window and stared into the night. The street was quiet. A soft wind blew in. Her eyes filled with water. "I'm scared," she said to the darkness. "Something's wrong. I can feel it." By the 4th day, she barely had the strength to cook. Smoke curled from the firewood as she sliced onions, her motions slow, mechanical. Suddenly, a sleek black car stopped in front of her stall. A man stepped out, tall and dressed in an expensive red cap, crisp shirt, and polished shoes. Miriam had never seen him before. He didn't greet her. He just walked up and placed a brown envelope on her table. "What's this?" she asked, taking it in both hands. The man didn't answer. He only said, "Read it. And tell no one." Then he turned and walked back to his car. Within seconds, it drove off. Miriam stood frozen. She looked around. No one seemed to notice. Hands trembling, she opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of white paper. Just a few words. "Come to Marigold Hotel by 4 p.m. Don't tell anyone. From a friend." Her eyes widened. "Marigold Hotel," she whispered. "I've never even seen the inside of a hotel." She read it again. Who sent this? Who was this friend? She held the envelope to her chest, looked up at the cloudy sky, and exhaled. She didn't know what waited for her. But something told her this wasn't just a letter. It was a turning point. By 3:30 p.m., Miriam stood outside her stall. She stared at the rusty lock in her hand, took a deep breath, and closed the wooden door. She turned the key twice. "God, go with me," she whispered. She flagged down a Kiki and climbed in. "Marigold Hotel," she told the driver. As they drove through the bustling city streets, Miriam clutched the envelope tightly. Her heart pounded. Her palms were wet. She didn't know what she was walking into, but her soul told her she had to go. After a while, the Kiki pulled up in front of a grand gate. Beyond it stood a tall glass building that sparkled like diamonds in sunlight. The walls gleamed white. Gold letters shimmered on the front entrance. 2 guards in black uniforms stood watch. One of them wore dark shades. He stepped forward. "Good afternoon, madam. Who are you here to see?" Miriam held out the letter. "Someone sent me this. My name is Miriam." The guard scanned it. Then he smiled. "Ah. You're expected. Please go in." Before she could respond, a man in a black suit appeared behind the glass doors. He approached her without smiling. "Follow me, please." She followed, her legs wobbling slightly. He led her down a quiet hallway with shiny floors and polished wood panels. They stopped at a tall brown door. "There's someone waiting inside," he said, then nodded. "Can I go in?" she asked softly. "Yes. You're safe." She took a breath. Then pushed the door open. Her eyes landed on a man in a wheelchair, sitting calmly in the center of the room. She froze. Her hand flew to her chest. "Baba Z?" But the man in front of her didn't look like the broken beggar she once fed. His hair was trimmed. His face was clean. He wore a white shirt with gold buttons. A silver watch gleamed on his wrist. His wheelchair looked new, sleek and polished. He looked calm. Powerful. He gave her a slow smile. "Miriam," he said softly. "Come in." Miriam's breath caught in her throat. She stepped in slowly, unsure whether she was dreaming or awake. "Baba Z, is it really you?" she whispered. The man nodded. "Yes, Miriam. It's me." She sat down slowly in the chair he pointed to, her eyes wide, locked onto him. "My real name," he said gently, "is Chief Daniel Zubair. I am not a beggar. I'm a billionaire." Miriam's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Chief Daniel continued, "I own several companies. I've built estates, schools, hospitals. But none of that means as much to me as what you did." Her voice finally found its way. "But, why? Why pretend?" He leaned forward slightly, eyes calm. "I grew tired of people who only help when it benefits them. I wanted to find someone who gives out of love, not out of fear or pride. So I left my world behind, sat in a wheelchair, and watched the world from the dust. You fed me," he said quietly, "again and again. With joy. Without hesitation. You never asked for anything. You treated me like a human being when no one else did." Miriam's eyes were wet. I didn't know. I wasn't trying to impress anyone." He nodded. "Exactly. That's what makes you rare." He looked down, then smiled slightly. "Every year, I choose 10 people. People who show true kindness. I help them rise, so they can help others." Miriam wiped her face with her apron, too stunned to speak. Then, slowly, Chief Daniel placed both hands on the wheelchair arms. Miriam watched. He stood up. Her hands flew to her face. You can walk?" He nodded, now standing tall. "Yes." She shook her head slowly. "But why stay in that chair? I wanted to see who would love me when I looked unlovable. Who would see me when I was invisible. And you did." Her voice cracked. "I didn't do it for a reward. I just felt it was right. And that," he said, stepping forward, "is exactly why I chose you." He paused for a moment, then added, "There's something I want to show you. A place." Miriam looked up. "A place?" He smiled warmly. "It's part of your reward. People like you deserve to see how kindness blooms." She nodded slowly. "Okay." Chief Daniel opened the door. 2 men in suits stood outside, waiting silently. They nodded respectfully as he walked past. Miriam followed him, heart pounding, every step feeling like part of a dream. Outside, 5 black SUVs waited in a row, polished until they shimmered in the light. Uniformed drivers and guards stood by each one. Chief Daniel walked to the first and got in. A guard opened the back door for Miriam. "Come in," he said, smiling. She climbed inside. The cars pulled out, moving in smooth formation through the city streets. Miriam stared out the window, watching the world blur by, but her mind was racing. What could possibly lie ahead? After 30 minutes, the convoy turned into a wide road flanked by tall trees and luxury buildings. Everything here was clean, quiet, and polished. The air smelled of flowers. Then the cars stopped. Miriam stepped out and gasped. In front of her stood a building unlike any she'd ever seen. It was massive. White marble walls. Giant glass windows. A gold sign above the door. It read, "Miriam's Haven, home of honest meals." She blinked hard. Looked again. Her name. Her name was on it. She turned to Chief Daniel, stunned. "This is mine," she breathed. He nodded slowly. "Yes. All of it." He reached into his coat and handed her a ring of shining keys. "Go inside." She walked slowly to the golden doors, her fingers trembling. She pushed them open. What she saw made her gasp. Chandeliers like diamonds lit the ceiling. The floor shimmered like polished stone. Tables sparkled. Cushioned chairs sat neatly around them. A soft tune played in the background. The air smelled like spice and fresh flowers. Miriam covered her mouth. It was a palace. At the back, she saw a huge stainless steel kitchen. Modern ovens, deep freezers, gas burners, new pots, and shelves full of supplies. Even uniforms hung neatly for chefs and waiters. She turned back to Chief Daniel, tears rolling freely now. "You did all this, for me?" He stepped beside her. "Yes. Because you fed a stranger with your last meal. Because you gave without asking. Because your kindness spoke louder than anything money can buy." He paused, then added, "Now, you'll feed hundreds, maybe thousands. And you'll do it with dignity, not struggle." Miriam dropped to her knees. "I don't have the words." He smiled gently. "You don't need words. Your heart already said it all." From that day forward, Miriam's life was no longer the same. The small wooden stall under the mango tree became just a memory. Now, she was the owner of one of the finest food plazas in Port Lagos. Miriam's Haven became a name people whispered with admiration. She didn't cook anymore. She didn't serve plates in the dust or chase flies off tables. Professional chefs now ran her kitchen, men and women in clean white uniforms with tall hats. Waiters in pressed shirts and shiny shoes carried trays of delicious meals to neatly dressed guests. The walls of the restaurant glowed with golden lights. Soft music played in the background. Laughter floated in the air. Her office was upstairs, behind a glass door with her name etched in gold, Miriam Zubair, founder. Photos of her story hung on the walls. People came not just for food, but for inspiration. She had everything: money, comfort, respect. But Miriam's heart? It remained exactly the same. She remembered. She remembered the wooden stall. The patched slippers. The last plate of food she gave away. And she remembered Baba Z, Chief Daniel, who had seen her heart when she had nothing to give but kindness. One bright morning, her manager entered her office. "Madam," he said, "the food truck is ready." Miriam stood up with a nod. "Let's go." Outside, a large white truck waited beside the plaza. On the side of the vehicle, bold letters read, "Miriam's Mercy Meals, Feeding the Forgotten." It was her charity. Every week, the truck drove through the city, stopping at bus stops, under bridges, beside markets, anywhere people were hungry and forgotten. The poor lined up with tired eyes and hopeful hearts. Mothers with barefoot children. Old men in tattered shirts. Young boys with no bags or books. She fed them all. She handed out warm plates of rice, beans, and yams, just like the ones she once gave Baba Z. Only now, the portions were bigger. The meat was softer. The smiles were wider. "Eat well," she would say, handing out plates. "You're not forgotten." One of her helpers, a young woman named Nkechi, looked at her one day and asked quietly, "Madam, why do you still come out here yourself? You're rich now. You don't need to do this." Miriam looked at her, then placed a gentle hand on her chest. "Because kindness brought me here," she said. "And I must send kindness back out into the world." Nkechi nodded, eyes shining. The sun glowed softly over the crowd as they ate in peace. Miriam stood quietly for a moment, then looked up at the sky. "Thank you, Chief Daniel," she whispered. "Thank you for seeing me." Then she turned, climbed into the van, and off they went, to the next street, the next soul, the next quiet chance to change a life. This story leaves us with a truth worth remembering. Kindness is never wasted. You may not have riches. You may not have power. But if your heart is pure, your kindness will speak, even when no one is watching. And when it speaks loud enough, it might just echo to the ears of someone who can change your life. So, be kind. Give without expecting. Smile even when you're tired. Love even when it's hard. Because one day, just like Miriam, you might open a door and find that your reward has been waiting for you all along. What did this story teach you? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And guess what? Another powerful story is coming soon, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when it drops. If this story touched your heart, hit the like button and share it with someone who might need a reminder that kindness still matters. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, stay kind. Stay hopeful. And never stop believing in the power of a good heart. Yellow Heart.